David, what is the biggest mistake that most parents make when it comes to dealing with picky eaters?
Well, my experience, and certainly not only as a registered dietitian, but also a father of three daughters, who many people would just think genetically somehow they have this predisposition to always loving everything that's great for them. No such luck. It does take some work and some teamwork between both parents. So I would say the first mistake is throwing in the towel way too soon when we introduce new foods to kids. You have to stay the course. The research is showing that it may take as many as 17 times to get a toddler to accept that food as their own. So my first bit of advice is if they don't like it the first time, try and try again, and maybe try in different ways.
One of the things that we're hearing more and more about are the superfoods, and you talk about that in your book, 101 Foods That Could Save Your Life. What advice would you give to parents about how to introduce those foods into the family diet?
Well, I think a lot of people assume that superfoods, or I like to refer to them often as Powerhouse Foods, that they're going to have a super price attached to them. And believe it or not, the least suspecting food may be indeed a superfood. Beans, for example, and especially in these economically challenging times, are probably one of the best values out there. For less than 25 cents a serving, you can find beans and put a good healthy meal on the plate. Now, truth be told, my three daughters, one loves beans, the other one can take them or leave them, the other one would just as soon leave them. So I try different approaches. Sometimes I'll put out a dish that has a very bean-forward sort of focus to it, where it's obvious that those beans are in the dish. Sometimes I'll go ahead and take those beans and puree them and add them in, and they don't know they're there, and I'm not trying to be the sneaky guy. But to me, it's almost a battle. It's more important to get these fruits and vegetables in and cultivate a relationship with my kids as we go, as opposed to drawing a line in the sand and saying, hey, if you don't eat them this way, then I'm not going to introduce them to you.
How much of this is a mindset, do you think, about the person in each family that is preparing this food?
Well, as an old saying goes, it takes a village, and the village begins with the family. And it really does take a cooperative effort. We can't expect children to eat fruits and vegetables and beans and whole grains and all these things that we know that are great for us unless we as parents are willing to go ahead and bite the bullet and parent and model for our children. So there has to be consistency. We really do need others in the home to get on board. And what I find, especially if we get kids involved in the procurement of food, I would even say before the procurement, if you can get them to grow food, that would be excellent. Go shopping with you. If they ask to lend a hand in the kitchen, don't say, hey, I've got this handled. Give them some sort of a job, some sort of thing that they can do, and that'll make all the difference, I think, in the world of whether they'll eat those foods or not.
A lot of parents watching this interview might say, well, you know what? It's easy for him to say. He's a dietitian, and he's written a book, and he's done all these things, but you know what? I'm just trying to get the meal on the table at the time that we're all supposed to be eating and hope that they're going to be eating it.
Well, we've got challenging times now. It's not long gone are the days of the Dick Van Dyke Show where Laura Petrie stayed at home and raised the kids. We've got two working parents quite often as a scenario, and that certainly represents the vast majority of the patients that I see. But it doesn't have to be an oxymoron. Fast does not mean that it can't also be nutritious. Putting fruits and vegetables on the plate can be very simply done. It doesn't have to always be fresh. Buying frozen vegetables is absolutely perfect. You can buy canned. And in the interest of full disclosure, I just started doing some consulting for a company called Foods here in the United States that's actually coming out with an entire line of organic pureed vegetables, which I think is brilliant. You can just open up the package and add it to anything. My wife and I just made a wonderful bean pasta fagioli soup that had spinach, because my daughters, truth be told, don't really care much for spinach, but it was pureed finely enough that it could be added in, and they loved the taste of it. And we didn't clobber them over the head about how nutritious it was for them. My strong recommendation to parents, and this is coming from a registered dietitian, don't always tell your kids that, hey, this is really good for them, because quite often they think of that as being something that's not going to be good tasting. I always say, hey, this tastes delicious, and oh, by the way, it just happened to be good for you. If you have fruits and vegetables washed, cut up, ready prepared, that have accompaniments with it that are easy to eat, kids are more likely to eat them. If your fruits and vegetables are residing in a crisper bin in the refrigerator, quite often it becomes a science project there, because most kids are not going to go in there, take it apart, clean it, do all the preparation. So parents, we can help our kids eat it by serving it in an attractive, tasty, fun manner. Have fun with cutting it up in intriguing shapes and sizes. Put some other interesting dips and sauces with it, and that can make a huge difference of whether you can get your kids to eat more fruits and vegetables.